So you finally decided to take that step and start your fitness journey. There is an overwhelming amount of information out there, and to be quite honest, most people fail when they attempt this. So this is just a video on a few tips, a few tricks, just some advice in general on how to just get started. So here we go. First, we need to assess your goals. What are your goals? And obviously, the first one is for most people weight loss or fat loss. And there is a big difference between weight loss and fat loss. So, weight loss, as the term states, is just losing weight on the scale. Although weight loss might not be ideal, losing weight can improve all of your blood markers. It can improve cholesterol, blood pressure, C-reactive protein, cardiovascular markers such as that. Weight loss goes down, your chance for disease goes down. That's a fact that is undisputed. However, in a perfect world, fat loss is most people's goal. And how you gear your workouts, how you gear your cardio, if your goal is fat loss, this is for a whole nother video, but gearing yourself towards what your goals are is very important. So you need to define your goals. You need to have a specific picture in your mind of what you want to look like or what your goal weight is going to be, etc. If you don't have a goal, it is going to increase your chance for failure. And then a few of the other ones, just weight gain, muscle gain. Again, there's a difference between gaining weight and gaining muscle. And again, going back to how you structure your routine, how you structure your cardio, and especially how you structure your nutrition, strength, and overall health. Those are pretty much the four big ones that would cover almost everybody in terms of what your goal is going to be when you set out on your journey for fitness. I heard this saying a long time ago. It's the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that certainly applies to a fitness journey. That really applies to any endeavor you want to go to in life. But specifically speaking, when we're talking about health, if you do not prepare your food ahead of time or prepare a plan ahead of time of what you're going to eat, you are more than likely going to fail. And one of the statistics I used to use all the time when I worked for Gold's Gym as the training director, this was a sales pitch for me back then, but it was a true statistic and still is a true statistic, and gym owners count on this happening. Because if 100% of the gym members showed up every day to work out, you wouldn't be able to move inside of a gym. But 75% of the members who sign up at a gym don't return after 6 weeks. If you don't see results, you're not going to come back to the gym. Nobody wants to come in the gym 4 to 6 times a week and not see any results. You're obviously not going to keep going back. So if there's no results, you're going to fall into that 75% of people who don't come back after 6 weeks. Nobody wants to continue if there's no return on your investment. If you do not prepare your food ahead of time, you are absolutely going to fail. When you leave the house in the morning, meal prep is a must. If you don't have your food, you're going to go eat fast food somewhere. You're going to wait until noon to eat. You're going to be starving. You're going to eat whatever is around you, whether it be a donut in the break room or whether it be going to get fast food. However, if you do prepare your food ahead of time and you have your food packed in your cooler, all you got to do is go heat your food up and you're off and running. You're on the schedule. Anywho, moving on. If you don't want to fall into that 75% of people who don't return to the gym after 6 weeks, hiring a coach is extremely important. Hiring the right coach is extremely important. And there are a few questions you need to ask yourself before you hire your coach. And you also need to shop around as well. Hiring a coach is not just a fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing. You don't just look one up on the internet and then you're off and running. Ask questions. Does your prospective coach look like he or she is in shape? That's huge. I can't tell you how many people I see hiring a coach who looks like they need a coach. If your coach doesn't look in shape, if he or she does not lead the lifestyle, move on to the next one. If they can't keep themselves in shape, chances are they're not going to be able to keep you in shape either. Second question, what qualifications does your prospective coach have? Does he or she have a degree, a certification? This is really important as well because there is a lot of misinformation out there. And I can tell you from experience, before I had my degree and after I had my degree, the amount of knowledge I accumulated through my undergraduate and the knowledge I'm accumulating now in my master's degree is light years ahead of where I was before I had those things. I'm not saying I was an idiot when it came to nutrition, but having experience is great. Having a degree and experience is a lot better. Third, how do your prospective coaches' clients look? Do you see them making progress? I'm not great about posting before and afters, and I'm not great about posting all the time with workouts, but I do try to do that. So most coaches are going to post their workouts with their clients at least occasionally. They're going to occasionally post before and afters. I personally have a website with before and afters of some of my clients on there, and it's very easy to jump on their social media and creep them a little bit, research them a little bit. If you like what you see, if you see some good before and after pictures, that's a good sign. If you see that your coach has a good rapport with his or her clients, that's a good sign. For our ladies, and I'm not going to get really deep into this, if you notice that your prospective coach's women clients have a deep voice, have faces that look like men, you need to run from that coach as well. A lot of coaches, especially in the bodybuilding industry, they push drugs, performance enhancing drugs on their female clients, and it is a travesty to see what once was a feminine, pretty female turn into something that looks like a 40-year-old man. It's not cute. So if you see that, that's a red flag, huge red flag. Move on to the next one. Now we're going to get into the tips for meal prepping. Number one, buy a food scale. If you don't know how much you're eating, you're not going to know what to do when you hit a plateau. You need to know how many ounces of protein you're getting in. You need to know how many ounces or grams of potato you're getting in. You need to use a scale to measure your rice when you cook it. If you know exactly how much food is going in, then when you do hit a plateau, you can go back to the drawing board and say, okay, if you're trying to lose weight, just subtract a couple hundred more calories, then you're off and running again. If you're trying to gain weight, you can add a couple hundred more calories. If you're just eyeballing it every time, you're not going to be consistent with the amounts of food you're getting in, and therefore you're not going to know what to do when it's time to make a change. Number two, be consistent. Consistency is one of the biggest takeaways you need to get from this video. If you're not consistent, you're not going to see progress. You can't eat good for a couple of days and then eat terrible for a couple of days, and you're falling off the wagon every other week or every 3 days. You're going to be spinning your wheels and you're going to get discouraged, and you're certainly not going to see any progress, and you're not going to continue. Be consistent. Third, get a Me Thermometer. This one took me a minute to figure out. The first several years that I was in this game, I can tell you I ate so many dry chicken breasts and dry steaks, it'll gag you after a while. And if you can make your food taste better, more palatable, you're going to increase your chances of sticking to it. And when I got a Me Thermometer and I learned which temperatures to cook my protein to, it makes it a lot more moist. It makes it a lot more easy to swallow, easier to chew, and more palatable altogether. And again, if you enjoy your food, you're probably going to stick to it more. And I just left the temperatures down here at the bottom. Chicken needs to be 165 degrees, at least 165 degrees. Wouldn't get it above 175, it starts to dry out. Personally, I like my steak medium rare, and I grill my steaks most of the time. I take it off the grill at 120 degrees because it is going to continue cooking a little bit when you take it off. And 120 degrees when I take it off the heat is perfect for me. If you want your steak medium, then leave it on there to about 126 to 128. It'll keep cooking and it'll be medium for you. And this fourth one here, this was a game changer for me as well. Even if you do cook your food to temperature, a lot of times when you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to dry out. When you put rice in the refrigerator, especially rice, it's going to dry out. It's like trying to eat a bucket of sand. When you put potatoes in the refrigerator, they're going to dry out. So when you reheat it, it's going to dry it up even more, and it's just so hard to get a meal like that down. It's awful. And I spent years doing that. So a game changer for me is to take some chicken bone broth and add it to your meal before you reheat it. About 6 ounces of bone broth, stir it in. Let's say you have a chicken, rice, and vegetable meal. Pour the bone broth in your Tupperware, stir it up, microwave it. And your food will absorb the chicken bone broth. It'll make it a lot more moist. It'll make it a lot more palatable, easier to swallow, easier to eat, more enjoyable to eat. And like I said, that was a game changer for me. And on top of that, you're going to get another 9 grams of protein per cup per 8 ounces. So who doesn't want more protein in their diet, right? So also, you're going to get magnesium, phosphorus, gelatin, collagen, which is great for your joints, glycine, glutamine, protein, iron, potassium, calcium, glucosamine, chondroitin, calcium. All of those things are in chicken bone broth, and all that's going to be absorbed into your food. It's a win-win right here. Moving on, set aside a couple of times per week to prepare your food. It's probably going to take you an hour to 90 minutes, just depending on how many meals you want to prepare, if you're going to put them all together. Personally, I work at home, so that makes it easier for me. I still meal prep. I still prep my protein ahead of time and everything's prepped. So basically all I have to do is put it together when it's time to eat and heat it up. If you have to be away from the house, that means you're going to have to put chicken, rice, and vegetable all in the same container. It's probably going to take you a little more time, closer to 90 minutes. But set aside a couple of times per week to prep your food and pack your food. And I say twice per week because nobody wants to eat meals that are a week old. After, 5, 6 days, the chicken gets a little iffy. It's just not fresh tasting. Even if you do reheat it with the bone broth, it's still, it's not going to be ideal. And another thing that I learned, and this is not on the slide here, make sure the temperature of your refrigerator is pretty cold. It needs to be above freezing, obviously, but a few degrees above freezing. That way your food stays fresh longer. If you do have to prep a week in advance and you don't have your temperature set low enough on your refrigerator, obviously if the temperature is not low enough, your food's going to go bad sooner. So make sure you dial that temperature in on your refrigerator to a good degrees, and that will help keep your food longer. Get a cooler to carry your food with wherever you go. If you leave the house in the morning and you don't have a cooler with your food in it, guess what? You're going to eat garbage whenever you get hungry. You're going to go to the break room and eat a donut. You're going to go to McDonald's, whatever the case may be. If you don't have your food, you don't have your prepared food, you're preparing to fail. And this next one, I run into this a lot with nurses and sometimes police officers. If you don't have time to get a meal in, then you're going to have to do a meal replacement. It's better than doing no meal at all. So if you have a meal that's protein carbs, then an easy replacement for that is to mix whey protein and oatmeal, quick oatmeal, and leave it in the refrigerator overnight. The oatmeal will absorb the water, and that's a good meal replacement. If you just have a meal that's protein and greens, like steak and greens or chicken and greens, use the protein and just blend it up with water. There's your meal replacement right there. It'll take you 30 seconds to a minute to get that down, and you've got your nutrition in. You haven't skipped a meal, and there you have it. Season your food. This one also took me a while to figure out as well. I thought when I first started this game that your food had to be bland, and if you enjoyed your food, you were doing something wrong. That couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many seasonings out there that add 0 calories to your food that not only make it more palatable, but can actually help your digestion and just make your food overall more enjoyable. The more you enjoy the food that you eat every day, the more likely you're going to stick to your diet. If you are dreading your next meal, chances you're going to stick to your diet are slim to none. Lastly here, get up in time to make your breakfast. We only have so many protein sources to choose from. Eggs is one of them. Eggs is like the universal breakfast food, and it doesn't change when we're talking about getting into shape either. So get up in time to make your breakfast. It literally takes 10 minutes to make eggs, and whether you want, it doesn't matter how you like them. Just get up, make your breakfast, and even if you don't like to get out of bed like I do, trust me, I hate getting out of bed every morning. It's better than going without and then you're starving by 10 o'clock. So there we have it. One of the first questions I always get when I send out a nutritional protocol is, what about cheat meals? Well, cheat meals can be a good thing. However, there are certain parameters you should set for yourself, and that doesn't include Pizza Hut and McDonald's. Having a cheat meal should accomplish two things. It should give your metabolism a boost, and it should help with your mental fortitude and help you to want to adhere to your diet the rest of the week. Firstly, with the metabolism. So if you're in a caloric deficit, for instance, and you're consistently getting in X amount of calories a day, and let's just say you're in a 300 calorie deficit, eventually, if you don't ever bump your calories up, your metabolism is going to compensate for it, and you're going to stop seeing results, you're going to stop losing body fat, etc. So having a cheat meal once, or if you have a great metabolism, twice a week, can increase your calories, and with increasing calories, usually there's an increase in metabolism. When you increase your insulin, when your insulin spikes, usually there's a spike in your thyroid output as well. Your thyroid is responsible for your fat metabolism, so if you eat something with a lot of carbohydrates during your cheat meal, then that's going to spike your insulin. That in turn is going to spike your thyroid. And that is where your fat metabolism hormones come from, is your thyroid gland, your T3, your T4, which we covered in the sodium video, triiodothyronine, and thyroxine, T3, T4. And then finally, best time for a cheat meal is the last meal of the day. Wait, first let me back up. Your cheat meal should, like I said, be within certain parameters. This should not be Pizza Hut or McDonald's. And just a few examples. If you want to go out with your wife, with your husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, and you want to have a steak meal with a baked potato with a little butter, a small dessert, and a couple of glasses of wine, that's a beautiful cheat meal. If you want to have burgers at home, homemade burgers with 90-10 ground beef, and baked fries, and even a Coke, that's beautiful. If you want to go have sushi, that's beautiful. If you want to go have a Pizza Hut pizza, not so good. If you want to go eat 3 Big Macs, not so good. There's so much processed garbage in that food, it's not doing you any favors. Okay, back to best time for a cheat meal. If you wake up in the morning, you have pancakes and bacon for breakfast, you're not going to want to eat chicken and rice your next meal. So my advice to you, if you're going to have a cheat meal, plan it for the last meal of the day. That way, when you do have your cheat meal, you can wake up fresh and start on your diet the next day. Because again, if you have something garbage for breakfast, you're going to want to eat garbage the rest of the day. And then instead of having a cheat meal, you've had a cheat day, and that's not doing you any favors either. Three of the biggest themes I would like for everybody to take away from this video is to prep your meals, because if you don't prepare your meals ahead of time, you are preparing to fail. Guaranteed 100%. You leave your house without your meals in the morning, you're going to fail. Whether you're skipping meals or whether you're eating garbage, one of the two. Number two, be consistent. Consistency is the key. And by the way, I really like this picture I put up there. Very clever. Consistency is the key to this. You cannot be on and off the wagon all the time, or you're not ever going to get anywhere. And again, results is what makes you want to go back to the gym. Results is what makes you want to continue eating your meal prep. If you look on the scale and you see what you want to see, if you look in the mirror and you see what you want to see, that is motivation for you to continue going. If you're not consistent, you're not going to see changes on the scale. You're not going to see changes in the mirror. Consistency is the key. And then hiring a coach. We've already covered everything that you need to ask yourself when you're hiring a coach. Make sure that you do your research on whomever you're trying to hire. That can be the best thing you ever do or the worst thing you ever do. So concluding, I hope everybody learned something from the video. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate the support, and I will see you again soon.